Today on the show, we have Pete Walsh from IDW Games, the co-designer of Batman, the animated series Adventures, which is currently on Kickstarter. Stick around. Batman, the animated series, is probably one of the most loved Batman or versions of Batman.
Won an Emmy.
It did it really?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, for the Heart of Ice episode.
Wow.
It is still one of the best animated series ever made.
it was a contender for many Emmys actually for screenwriting.
Well,
And it is the birthplace of Harley Quinn.
This is my stumbling segue into our featured content, which of course is Pete Walsh from IDW Games and the co-designer of Batman the Animated Series Adventures Shadow of the Bat game that is currently on Kickstarter, and it is, you guys just are rocking it, and
It's doing pretty good. It's exciting.
It's doing amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
I know this is something that you've been working on for a while. Let's just recap the history of Pete Walsh.
Back in 1984.
Pete and I, we met in person at PAX Unplugged back in 2018. He showed me this little game called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures, which
Yes,
was also did very well on Kickstarter.
it did pretty good. It did pretty good.
And you delivered an amazing product.
Thank you, sir.
You and Dan Lansdowne co-designed along with Kevin Wilson, of course.
Yep.
And you kind of took the Shadows of the Past game and tweaked it and made it refined it and
Came out of the shadows of the past and made changes constant, and we moved forward.
yeah, you just put out a great, backers just got it at the beginning of this year, and it's an amazing game. So of course at the end of that campaign you teased that Batman the Animated Series was going to be next.
Yep.
And you've been working on it ever since.
We have, and it's pretty cool. It's very exciting. It's very, very different to how Turtles plays, and it's got a lot of cool differences that really spice things up. And yeah, I get pretty excited about it.
Sure. So here's how long have you been working on it right up until Turtles ended, or have you been working? Did you work on both at the same time at one point?
So I came on to Batman a little bit after Turtles had finished. Like
Okay.
Kevin had done some work on Batman, and then he did some work up to a point, and then I came in and streamlined it into adventures and made some changes, and some big changes and some small changes, and now it's part of this bigger overarching system where we've got the adventure system. I started probably a couple of months after Turtles finished, and I finished the major part of the development and design a couple of months ago. So now we're obviously into Kickstarter. We're showing off all the bits and pieces that we've come up with, and we've been working hard at trying to make sure that it's as right as can be.
Now, for folks that aren't familiar with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures game, can you just kind of give an overview of how the game system works? It's
Cool. Yep.
Yeah.
So the thing with the adventure system is it's either cooperative or competitive. So originally it was just a competitive game, but me and Dan changed it into a cooperative game as well. The beating heart of it is that everybody has 3 action dice, and then the heroes roll that at the start of their turn, and you share your left action dice to the player to the left, and your right action dice to the player to your right, which in turn will give you 5 actions in total. So it's all about that pre-planning. I'll give you this dice, you give me that dice, and we'll make a strategy up, and we'll go in and we'll get the job done. Turtles is very much an arcade sort of run and gun, drop a quarter in and beat up the bad guys. That sort of Turtles in Time sort of a feel. Whereas Batman is, if Turtles is a brawler, Batman is a pressure cooker, and it's got everything that could go wrong typically sort of goes wrong. You've got time bombs, you've got gases, you've got bystanders, and lots of things that are putting Batman and the other people under pressure of things going wrong, essentially. And if you don't plan properly and make the right decisions, it will go bad. Because Batman has to make sure he's just a guy in a suit. You have to make sure you make the right decisions and do the right thing. With the Turtles Adventures game, obviously it's got that dice sharing. That's the main core part of how the heroes play. The villains can either play with an AI mechanic where there's an initiative deck and everybody takes turns and they will go and complete their actions, and so do the heroes. Or you can play against the villain player and they play with cards, and instead of having the dice with the actions, their cards will have those action icons, and they'll have some special ability text on them. You play them out and they resolve their turns that way. So it's sort of asymmetric as Turtles or heroes play with dice and villains play with cards, but the end result is still the same because you've got the similar action icons that it's just how they get resolved and how you get to that point. That's sort of the adventure series in a nutshell.
I love this adventure system. I think it's really smart, and it's easy to kind of pick up and play. And I love how I love that dice sharing mechanic. I think that's really kind of clever, and I just love everything that the Turtles game has. So I'm really excited to see how it's going to apply here with the Batman game. Ben, you and I get to kind of demo this at we've actually filmed a segment at PAX Unplugged 2 years ago with Pete, and got to play the Ninja Turtles game while they were trying to kind of refine it and get it going. What did you think of the
I liked it. The dice sharing mechanic was really cool. Having to order your dice in certain ways so that your partners can get different actions that they may need, and that may not necessarily be an action that whatever character they're playing necessarily has on their dice. So it's a really nice way to minimize the alpha gamer thing that you can get in a cooperative game when you have to prioritize working with everyone at the table rather than just necessarily picking the best course of action.
I'm only familiar with the original Turtles game, but that was my favorite part, was the dice sharing, because it felt very thematic, especially with Raph being a jerk. He didn't get to share dice. He got his own dice, and the other three turtles worked together. I really loved that because it immediately brought you into the Turtles universe. Like it felt like they were working together, and then Raph was like, "Screw you guys, I'm going to go crack skulls by myself."
As Raph always does.
I absolutely loved that.
So that's what we've really tried to hone in on as much as we can, is the theme. So the new Turtles games follow the IDW comic very, very closely. You go through each of the stories. Like at the very start of the series, Raph is actually separated from the others. So the three of them go with Splinter down into the sewer, and Raph lives on the streets for, I think, 9 months. And the first missions, apart from the tutorial, is that Raph plays on a separate tile and he doesn't get to share dice. And the other three play in isolated from him. And the heroes eventually come together, and then they learn to work together, and you go through that journey of becoming a family again. It's really, really cool, just the journey that you go on. And with Batman, all of the missions in that, they're not called campaigns and called battles like in Turtles. They're called episodes and acts. So you've got the first episode is on Leather Wings, and it's got one act, which is you're facing Man-Bat, and then the third episode is Heart of Ice, and it's got 3 acts, all dealing with Mr. Freeze.
Oh, it's so
and
cool.
So it's really you're going through each of those core moments, dealing with exactly what Batman did and going through those situations. But everything goes back to that animated series, and it's based on the episode. We've used the title cards from the original show, and it's everything comes back to that. So it's trying to pay as much tribute and try and bring as much from that series and inject it into the game, because there's so many licensed games out there that you can do whatever you sort of want with it. It's a Turtles game, but is it really the IDW Turtles game, or is it's a Batman game? Is it really the Batman animated series game? This is as true as we could make it. The Batman animated series experience. You feel like you are in that world, every part of it.
We do have a couple questions. Let's get to a few questions before we get too late here. So let's see here. D Quartermain asks, honest question here: how many more stretch goals do you have planned for this campaign?
There's a few. There's definitely a few, and we've talked about extras as well.
All right.
There's more than one. I need to have a look and see how many we've actually crossed off our little chart of stretch goals, but there's definitely a few left.
Well, you've got quite a few more days left of this campaign, so it's like you're burning through them pretty quickly.
You could have stopped at Etrigan for me, though. As soon as I saw that figure, I was like, oh, really? Come on.
He's really, really dope. And I love that when we did the hero and the villain version, he's got the little M on his forehead for the villain version.
Oh,
so
nice.
It's like Clarion is taking control of him.
Yep.
It's just those little attention to details that, even though the art's the same, it's that that it's definitely about you're fighting the bad version because he's got that M on his forehead.
Yep. Favorite character in the whole series.
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
Asking about Batwoman.
Batwoman? Is that a question about Batwoman? I can give you some information about Batwoman. She's cool.
If you would. I'm trying to find the question, but yeah, someone did have a question about.
I can fill in the blanks while you're looking.
Sure, go for it.
So Batwoman's a really cool character in the game because if you haven't seen the Batwoman movie, it's actually 3 different people under the cowl, and it's 3 women that have been affected by the bad guys at this point, and they've sort of teamed up and they're taking turns of being the Batwoman. One of the there's 3 ability cards which are one of each of those people. So depending on which ability card you take, you get powered their version of the character. So if you wanted one version of the character might be better at movement and speed and stuff. The other one might be hitting harder, and the other one might have better gadgets. It all depends on what sort of loadout you want. And so it's essentially 3 heroes in one. So they all feel very, very unique.
Very cool. I like that a lot. Ryan Crow asks, Ryan wanted to know a little bit more about the tiles. So he made the comment that they seemed a little dark. He wasn't sure if the ones that have been previewed were like the final images, or it didn't seem like there was a whole lot of detail, and they were. He was just wondering what the plan was for the tiles, because let's face it, the Turtles tiles were amazing. Those popped.
Pretty cool. So the tiles again are done by the same guy, David Lanza, and he does some amazing tile work. The tiles maybe it might be just the low res images that make them look extra dark or extra little. Maybe we can see if we can get an update in the Kickstarter so you can see some bigger, better ones. In the Adventures Facebook group, I'll try and share some as well. But we're also talking about Batman, and in the animated series, I think even the way that they actually made the cell work and they actually produced it was on a lot of black, and like they used a lot of dark images. Black was used a lot. We've tried to not go as hard as that, but we need, because it's obviously the theme that it is, we need to try and emulate the world that we're in as well. We're not going to make it something that it's not. This is Batman the Animated Series. You need to feel like you're in Batman the Animated Series to be true to the game.
It was quite a dark series. Yeah, the show itself was very dark.
Yeah. I don't know if any of you guys know. Like, I watched it was sort of like a documentary, and they were talking about how they did a special process with the art to actually create do the salts because there was so much black in all of the backgrounds. I can't remember exactly, but I remember that they were like whether they used it on a special black paper or there was just lots and lots of layers of black, and it's how you get that different tones of black against each other because there was so much in there.
It would probably have been easier to animate it on black paper
Yeah,
rather
I
than
wouldn't be
having to
surprised
color
if they
that
did.
all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
So I've got a question, and you can just nod your head or shake your head because it's.
I promise I don't usually give away spoilers at all.
I know it's a long shot because it is Batman the Animated Series. It's just one of those stretch goals. Maybe have a little Batman Beyond in there.
Well, I can tell you that Batman Beyond is a really cool license, and we originally when we started the project, we only had the license for Batman the Animated Series. And then we pushed a little bit harder and we got Batman the New Adventures. So then we could put Firefly in there. We could put Tim Drake, Robin. We could put in Nightwing and Calendar Girl and Etrigan and some of those other cool characters. Batman Beyond is technically another one of those. I know we've been talking about it. Nothing is like there's no concrete yes, we're going to do it, or no, we're not going to do it, but that we have definitely had conversations about it. I mean, crazier things have happened. I mean, we all never thought we would do anything to do with Northampton at the end of the Turtles campaign, and then we ended up doing a whole expansion for it. So you never know your luck in the big city, but
a little bit of that into the Batverse going.
Yeah. Knowing how cool Batman Beyond is, like I know there's a lot of people in the Kickstarter that they're desperate to see some cool Terry stuff happening, but is it better to put in like a cool hero pack where you get that character and then everybody gets excited, or are we going to wait and try and do something that has a little bit more meat to it and you get to go into that universe? It's which way do we take it? What would people prefer? What would be better for the game?
Does it have enough meat to it to make an entire property out of it, or can it just be
just like an Arkham expansion size one, like a $60 expansion versus doing a $30 hero pack where you get 4 characters. I don't know. What I do know is that there is a lot of people that are asking for it. Like Batman Beyond is really, really popular, and there is definitely a place for it. How and when we get to it is the big question, I think. And what's the best way to do it justice? Because I think, Rob, like you would agree that you wouldn't, if you had the opportunity to go deep into the universe or to get just a little taste, you would prefer to get a little bit more meat than just that little bit on that tip of the spoon.
Yeah, I think I would definitely like more of an in-depth, and it'd be cool to get like a Terry mini, but it would be much cooler to have a box that had him and Old Wayne and the Jokers and the playing card
Ace.
gang, and cool.
Yeah, it would be cool.
What we need to do is just have everybody back the Kickstarter as much as possible.
Yeah.
So then that way that just opens more doors for do more cool stuff.
It turns into 7 different games.
That's right.
Well, I mean, and Pete did say the word justice, which means the Justice League game is confirmed.
Clearly,
So,
yes. Yeah, obviously. We
can
infer that for sure. Yeah.
I mean, I understand that you have to do the Adventures of Superman first just to get to the point of Justice League. But...
Yeah, well, Superman didn't actually appear in Batman the Animated Series. It's all the New Adventures, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
People have brought that up in the Kickstarter chat as well about, Superman, but technically the episodes that he was in was Superman the Animated Series. It was, I think it was World's Greatest or the episodes, but it was a Superman episode, not on the flip side, a Batman episode. Though I do have really
episode had Batman in it. Yeah, Superman was never in Batman.
Yeah. definitely not that super character anyway. Though I'm really excited, like if I got the opportunity to put super characters or Kryptonians into the adventures in the Batman universe, because there's a lot of other people that I've spoken to that would freak out about putting somebody with such a big power set into those games. So they just think it's too OP. You know, Superman, like if everybody else's attack is 1 or 2, Superman would have to have like a 5 attack or something off the
always
chart.
The issue with Superman actually is, gee, what can't Superman do?
Well, so I sort of lean into that, and I'm the complete opposite. I think, great, he can do everything, and he can do it so well that if he punched you, you would essentially turn to dust. But he wouldn't. But he wouldn't, because he has to hold himself back, and that's the whole gimmick. Every breath Superman takes, every moment that he's on the board, he has to hold back. So if I was to put a Kryptonian into the game, their main ability, they would have amazing dice, they'd have amazing like stats and attributes and special powers, but if they overkilled or if they exceeded something, then they would lose. Because in Batman there is a lot of if you end your turn under fire, you lose, because you're falling. There's a penalty, like you're getting shot at with machine guns. If you end your turn in bottomless terrain, which is like you've been thrown off a building, then your health is reduced to 0 and you lose. So you need to have the gadgets to be able to support yourself to get out of the situation. If the time bomb goes off, you lose. With a Kryptonian, if they overkill you by X, you should definitely lose. Just like we have a blimp mission, and the Scarecrow's got he's gassing the city. It's the end of Nothing to Fear, and he's run up into the his blimp, and he's running away. He's thrown the guy from the university off the side of the blimp, so you have to go and rescue him. He's losing his grip, and you have to stop the blimp. And all around the blimp is bottomless terrain. If you end your turn in bottomless terrain, obviously you're going to die. But also, if any of the villains, you can't just throw a villain off the side of the blimp and have them die, because Batman doesn't kill.
Yeah.
So villains can't move themselves into bottomless terrain. But in Batman's world, if Batman has obviously powers that can throw characters around, he does. You can't just think, oh well, I'm just gonna throw all these guys off the blimp and it's gonna be an easy win. Because if you do that, you're gonna have to rescue them before they fall to their death, because that's not what you do. That's not what Batman does.
You can't game the system.
Correct. But it's just going back into that theme of, Batman doesn't kill, and that's a really important thing to have in the game. And the same with like a Kryptonian, that they're always holding back. They're so uber powerful, but lean into that. Let them do things. But we've got a thing in the game called focus. You spend focus to re-roll dice. Maybe you've rolled dice and you've rolled all crits, and that's going to absolutely splatter the guy. So you need to spend focus to make your attack weaker, because you're overkilling.
Otherwise you lose.
Otherwise you're going to lose.
That's a cool mechanic, actually. Like, I rolled like fabulously. I can't have that.
Yeah.
It's just a different way to look at if somebody's powerful, let them be powerful, but there's always a consequence to it. And especially in comic books like that, Marvel is very good at great power comes great responsibility, and every hero has a weakness. Well, Superman, everybody thinks his only weakness is magic and kryptonite, but he's in his mind, he's fighting every day to try and not. I've just sneezed. Am I going to cause a hurricane?
Yeah.
Hold back.
Blow a hole in a wall because you sniffled or hiccuped or something.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I would do if we could do Kryptonians anyway.
There was a great episode of Justice League where they catch some villain and they're trying to get information out of him, and Superman picks him up and he's like, "Tell me." And the guy's like, "What are you gonna do?" He's like, "You're a Boy Scout." And then Batman walks over and whispers in the guy's ear, and he practically wets himself. He's like, "I'll tell you whatever you want to know."
Perfect. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the community that you've built, Pete, because I think that's one of the reasons why this Kickstarter has done amazingly well. Not only are folks pleased with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games that you put out at the beginning of this year, but you've built this and fostered this great online community around this adventure system. Let's just talk a little bit about that, because it's one of the nicest groups that I'm on Facebook, that I'm a part of Facebook, and let's tell us how that got started. And
so it's well, we wouldn't be having this conversation if that Facebook group didn't start, because I was just like everybody else that's out there. Like, I was a Batman fan, or I was a Turtles fan more so, because it's how it started. They did this awesome Kickstarter at launch, and I was gobsmacked that the IDW Turtles were going to get a board game, and I was already into board games, and I was amazed. And so comments were getting lost in the threads of Kickstarter, and I said, I'm going to make a group up. And then I went onto Facebook, and I created a group, and I tried to get as many people to join as I could, to try and keep the conversation going, especially after the Kickstarter had finished. And Kevin Wilson joined, Nate, who was project manager at the time, had joined, some of the other workers from IDW, and the people, the artists as well. We had Sophie Campbell on there. We had Mateus. I think Tom Waltz is in there as well. And it was a really cool thing that all these people were coming together, and we were all getting excited about this game. It was all built around just try and get the game going as well as it can, because then obviously it's going to have a future. So we did that, and then I was talking to Kevin Wilson, and I ended up helping him out with some of the hero characters for the Kickstarter, so the Splinter, the April, and Casey hero packs. I assisted him with some of the abilities. And this is coming from somebody that was totally fresh. That I knew Turtles really well, so I knew Theme.
So wait. So Pete, I'm going to stop you just for a second. So you went to Pete. You went to Kevin Wilson, legendary game designer, Kevin Wilson, and he'd be like, Kevin, listen, I know you do this game design thing, but this is how I think you should. You actually
no, well, it didn't really go like that, but he at that stage, like, me and Kevin had been talking a fair bit, because we were doing Q&As for like questions on the group, and I was trying to answer as many things as I could. He got me to test out some prototype stuff for Turtles, and I was excited. I knew about the game, and we essentially brainstormed some of those characters' abilities together, which was really cool. And so early, in the piece, I'm like, I sort of, got really excited to be part of, this behind the scenes, peek behind the curtain,
sure
thing. And then once I heard that the Turtles game was delayed, the follow up, and that it wasn't necessarily going to plan, I said to Kevin, like, what can I do to help? Because obviously we need to do something. And he wasn't sure what direction it was going to go. And then I went to IDW, and I said the same thing. And I said, can I make a little expansion, or do some of the Kickstarter stuff, anything to help push, the game along and keep it alive? And at that stage, Kevin was working on other projects, and he said, you've got my blessing, Pete, go and talk to IDW, do whatever you can. And I spoke to Spencer from IDW and to Nate at the time, and I put a pitch in, and dreams come true.
That's awesome.
So but in saying that, it wasn't just an amazing dumb luck. I put in a lot of hours behind the scenes, running this community, answering people, building relationships with the IDW staff, and there was a lot of like free time that I sort of, I built into the whole thing. And then we pitched it. I pitched the idea to the IDW guys, and they said yeah. And I said that I wanted my mate Dan to come along. We would done some homebrew stuff, and I said, do you think my Dan can come along too and help us out? And they said, yep, that's cool. And so then we did it. We made turtles.
That's
and
awesome.
And then I got the opportunity to follow up with Batman, which is pretty cool.
Just a little
awesome.
property, you know, no,
Yeah,
some obscure character.
some obscure character.
Maybe
Yeah.
you've heard of them, you know.
And not only is it Batman, but it's Batman the animated series, like one of the dopest versions of the character.
One of the honestly, if I had to pick a version of Batman to only be able to watch, it would be the animated series version.
Oh yeah,
hands down.
The definitive Batman.
Yeah.
So
which is why we keep bugging Doug to watch it. Doug.
What do you mean, Doug?
With all of your spare time.
Are you telling me Doug hasn't watched Batman the animated series?
I have not.
Doug,
Is there a hang up button?
Oh, don't do that because he'll blame me. We can't have that.
I will definitely blame Jason.
I get in enough trouble here as it is.
No, it is one of those shows that I do want to watch, but there's no streaming service that offers it.
Yeah.
The three best versions of Batman, hand down, are the animated series, Batman Beyond, and Batman Brave and the Bold. All animated series, all the best Batman you can get.
You mean you don't like, what about Batman and Robin or Batman Forever?
I mean, as much as I love bat nipples. No, but seriously, and all three series are great for different reasons. Batman the animated series really captured that dark noir detective feel.
Yeah.
Batman Beyond just kind of continued that. And then
it was weird because they high-teched noir and it worked.
Yeah. And then Brave and the Bold was just like campy Silver Age Batman.
Off the wall.
It was I mean, especially Aquaman, I think, stole that show.
Outrageous.
And Blue Beetle, just the whole thing was but then you had episodes like Chill of the Night that were very serious and very dark, and it was like, ooh.
Yep.
That's what I liked about the series
message in there.
Yeah. Oh, the Batman the animated series, one of the it was actually the New Adventures, I think. There was an episode that always stuck out in my mind. I think it was a two-parter where Batgirl dies and Jim Gordon finds her laptop and
over the
uncovers and uncovers the whole Bat family secrets, and they're on the run, and then it turns out it was like a scarecrow hallucination that Batman finally figures out.
There's been a lot of people asking for that in the Kickstarter. They were
watching that episode as a kid. I was like, "Oh my god, what is?" Until the very, very end, you're like, "This is off the wall, crazy."
Yeah.
You're thinking, "How did I just watch this?"
Yeah.
And the first scene, it opens up and it's Batman running through the Batcave, getting sprayed with bullets with a Bullock and Gordon's there. So you go get him, and they're running through the Batcave. How does he know that he's Batman? Why is he in the Batcave?
What's going on?
Why is he shooting him? Oh my god!
It was an amazing episode. And then the original Ra's al Ghul arc, and of course the birth of
I think it's Demon Quest. I think it's called.
And the birth of Harley Quinn.
My favorite episodes were the Mr. Freeze episodes. I love.
Well, he was. They made you feel for him too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was not young at that point. I mean, I was in my 20s, or I think 20ish or something. When I was watching it, no, Doug, come on now. But I was watching those episodes. I was just like, this is like, I felt bad at the end of. Usually, you watch a cartoon and you're like, oh, that was cool, haha, Batman, cool. And I was like, I don't feel like he should have lost. I feel like he should have been allowed to win somehow.
Yeah, you really felt for that empathy for the characters, which is a really cool thing. To be able to make you root for the villain is a really cool.
A lot of people try for the sympathy aspect of villains now. It's like, oh, there's got to be a side to them that you can attach yourself to be invested in the story, but not many people pull it off successfully. And all the time in the animated series, whenever they allowed you to get to know a villain, it was always, you were like, well, I kind of get it, Like I see why they are the way they are. I mean, it's terrible and it's not something you want, but I get it.
Yeah, like Clayface is another really good one. I find that, like, while he wasn't the nicest guy getting around, but he had such a terrible, all these bad things happen to him, and you feel for the guy, and
he picked the wrong path basically, and you can see where he gets to that point, and you're like, everybody else makes the right choice, and he went the other way, and you're just like, okay, I get it.
It escalates, and it's escalation. Yeah.
So this Kickstarter has two box sets.
So there's the core box, which is got Batman, Batgirl, Gordon with his cops, Robin, and Catwoman as your heroes, and then you've got all the sort of the A-list villains in there as well. And you go through, I think there's 24 episodes or 24 missions in there in total that you can play through, and there's a lot of content in there. And then the second box is an Arkham Asylum expansion, and that's adding in the rest, like another big chunk of the villains. And one of the cool things in there is Clayface mode as well. So I don't know if any of you guys know about that.
Yeah, why don't you talk about that?
So Clayface mode, it's adding a trader mechanic to to this game, to a miniatures game, which is kind of wacky and cool. One at the start of the game, everybody gets, there's five role cards, and so there's usually 4 heroes. So potentially one of you could get the Clayface villain card. If you get that, then at some stage during your turn, you can flip it, and you can reveal yourself that you're Clayface. And then you essentially side with the villain, and you have to help them achieve their goal. You do it too early, then you're next to the heroes, they're going to wipe you out because they're going to be able to team up and smash you. You do it too late, and it's too close to the villain. The heroes are too close to achieving their goal, then maybe you're going to lose anyway. So it's about picking that right time to flip and to make yourself bad enough, but not too bad. The cool thing with this game, though, is there's a lot of splitting the team up and making big decisions. So you might have a time bomb at one end, and then you've got some bystanders or some hostages at another end. So 2 people might go off and do one thing, and 2 will do the other. And you might have Batman and Robin. So Robin will say, "Oh, gee, Batman, I'll go and defuse the bomb." And Batman's gonna look at Robin. He's gonna say, "You're Clayface. You're way too eager to defuse that bomb." And Robin might be just Robin, but now there's caused this big mistrust within the group. So with a game that's so heavy on objectives that if you make some bad moves, you're going to pay for it. It really adds another layer of tension, and that it could be really bad, or maybe it's not. Maybe Clayface is still in the box. But if he reveals and he's bad, and that's really bad for the heroes, depending on where he is. Because if Clayface is next to the bomb, Batman says, "All right, no, Robin, you're okay." Robin goes over to the bomb. "I'm going to defuse the bomb." Not.
Yeah,
and then, especially at the start when you're all geared up, Robin's taken all the cool gadgets to maneuver to get over to defuse the bomb, and they've all relied on Robin. And then Robin's like, guys, I'm not so much Robin, but I am made of clay.
Maybe I won't cut this wire.
Yeah. The wire cutting is really cool. There was essentially you spend in one of your actions to cut a wire. In most missions there's 5 wires to cut, and there's a number of tick tokens. So if you at the end of a round, you always take a tick token off. So it's 5 ticks on there. So you'll go down to 4 at the end of the round, and 3, and then 2, and then 1. But when you go to cut a wire, if you cut the wrong wire, it also ticks down. So you can imagine if you don't get there until the second round, let's say it's gone from 5 ticks down to 4 ticks, and you've got 5 wires to cut, and then you've gone up there, you've made it there, and you've only got 1 action left on your dice that's free, and you cut it, it's the wrong one. So then you lose another tick, so you're down to 3, and then the end of the round triggers, you've got 2 left. and
Love it.
you've got two left, and you've got 4 wires to cut. The pressure to make sure you need to get there fast. Not only do you need to get there fast, you need to make good decisions. Maybe you've got to bring the correct gadgets, which will help you defuse that bomb. There are gadgets which assist with it, but if you take those, maybe you're not going to take something else that you need to help you.
Don't have the gadget to let you move fast enough to get to the bomb or something.
Exactly. So it's all about that planning and working together to be able to get the objectives done. We did a mashup as well. Like, people have asked about compatibility. At Gen Con last year, we did a Bebop and Rocksteady against 6 heroes with a time bomb.
Nice.
So it was a single tile. These guys had played with us the year before at Gen Con as well, so they were old hats at the game, and we said, "All right, we've got a mission for you. We're going to escalate things." We gave them any heroes they wanted out of the game, but they had to take Batman and Robin as well, and there was Bebop and Rocksteady and a time bomb. So only 2 villains, but they're really, really tough. One of Batman's core ability is that he gets to set his center dice before he rolls it, so he gets to prepare so he's always can have the best dice face that he wants. But on the flip side to that is that he's got escalation. So whenever you go into a battle, the villain actually becomes stronger as well. So because when Batman arrives, there's always more villains, or they become stronger because they rise to meet the challenge of Batman, which is a very thematic thing for Batman in general. So Bebop and Rocksteady were instantly stronger as well. One person fought really, really hard to be Batman. He was like, "I'm going to be Batman. There's nothing you can do about it." He stole the card and he ran away from his friends, and and the fight was happening. People were going down, and they had to get revived, and it got really, really intense. And then the bomb got down to 2 ticks left, and there was only one tick left and 2 wires to cut. So it was a 50-50 chance to win or lose the battle. And the person that was Batman stood up and he said, "I can't do this. I hate Batman. I don't want to play this anymore because the pressure is too much." And it was a fantastic moment just to see that, like, in his body language, you could tell he actually felt sick with making the decision of cutting. The whole game was resting on his shoulders, and
that's awesome.
And so we all got behind and said, "You can do it, Batman. You've got to cut the right wire. You've got to do it." And he said, "I can't do it." And then eventually we convinced him, and he cut the wire, and it was the right one.
Nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he jumped on his chair. Well, he sort of sighed and relieved. Some of the other players jumped up on their chairs and cheered, and it felt like because we were playing in the stadium at the time, it felt like the whole stadium started like cheering for us. It was
well, did not.
It was a really, really cool moment. But it just goes to show that you can sort of mash the games together, and like some little bits and pieces from both that are unique, like that, really work well together.
That's a really cool mechanic. I like that.
Yeah, I do like that a lot. Is there any other mechanic? We heard about the Clayface. Oh, but let's before we move on from the Clayface mechanic, Ricardo asks, is only if Clayface decides to reveal is the only way to know? There's no votes or forcing to show.
No, so it's up to Clayface to do that. So he will. It's up to Clayface to choose that right time, because you're trusting your friends. You know, you've got to work together, and if you are spending actions to investigate your friend, then those are actions that you could have spent defusing the bomb or doing the other bits and pieces. I'll need to double triple check that there wasn't an investigate action, but I'm fairly certain that it was up to Clayface to reveal.
Very cool. Is there are there any other mechanics that you've implemented for this that make it a little more thematic?
Well, the gadgets are a big thing. The time bombs are a big thing. There's some extra status. There's a lot of new statuses. There's Smilex toxins, which can make people go crazy and die. There's fear toxin, which takes away 1 point of all of the hero skills, or it turns bystanders into villains, essentially. And Batman can't fight those bystanders because you can't punch a bystander in the face. So he has to inoculate them if he can do that. There's Poison Ivy's got poisons, which she'll use. Firefly will have burns. Mr. Freeze has got a cold token that he can put on you, which reduces your movement points to 1. Another cool one is Entangle, which is the character can't move. They have to break the entanglement, so they are essentially attacking themselves, which is the entangle, not themselves, but the entangle token that's on them to break it, so then they can free themselves. Stun is back from Turtles. There's lots of little status effects. Bottomless terrain is the big one as well, which I mentioned before.
Yep.
Going under fire, which I mentioned that as well, with the so the thug, they're not thug gunners, they're called hired guns. They can put you under fire, and Two-Face can do it also. So if you are under fire, if you end your turn under fire, you're KO'd. So they're essentially spraying you with a machine gun, and then if you end your turn, just like, I'm going to stay in the same spot, then you're going to lose. So you need to break line of sight, or you need to move out of their range to escape that being under fire.
In typical cartoon fashion, you have to run and bullets go ping, 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 ping behind you.
Yeah, pretty much. And when you're under fire, you can't move forward as well. So what really sucks is if the bad guys are pushed forward, and then you're up against the wall, and then they put you under fire. Because you can't move forward, you either have to attack them from where you are, or you need to somehow break line of sight. So you might have gadgets, could be a smoke bomb. You have to throw smoke down to break their line of sight.
Dodge into an alley or something.
Yeah.
But then you have to go,
really,
then
really
you're further away from where you needed to be, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. There's lots of little, I suppose, the difference with Batman is it's way more tactical, and lots of those little things which are going to make it trickier, but also give you that pressure and that sort of excitement, where Turtles is still exciting, but it's way more of a beat 'em up. We're playing the arcade game, Turtles Arcade.
Yeah.
We're playing Golden Axe, and we're running through them, beating people.
I'm going to whack you on the head until you give up.
Yeah, pretty much. They're the sort of the big ones. And I've had a few people in the Kickstarter saying, well, it's the same as Turtles, and it's just Batman skin. It's really, it's not. It should, if you play, and I've had people do this, like play testers that have played it just like they would Turtles. They know Turtles, like, oh yeah, we know. Don't even tell us what to do. We're just gonna. That's a bomb. Okay, I'll go in. I'm gonna kill these bad guys, and then I'm gonna defuse a bomb. They always lose because it's not about run and gun. You can't just push your way through the middle. You need to think about your moves and be tactical. And if you take the wrong gadgets into the mission, you might suffer. You need the wrong skills. You need to work together, and be tactical.
And here's a question for you, Pete. If Batman had been created first, are there any mechanics that you would have liked to have implemented into the Ninja Turtles game?
Yeah, the way that the 4 versus 1 I find in Batman is much, it's cooler. There's a lot more meat going on in that, which is something that I want to implement into Mutanimals. So that's the new expansion for Turtles, which will come out this year. The Batman 4 versus 1 has a lot of extra cards and a lot of extra meat for the villain player to do. Currently, as the villain player, you play 2 cards and you resolve their actions, and then it goes to the next player, and which is fairly standard. With the villain player, there is in Batman there is a lot, and I mean a lot more stuff that they can do. Like we'll start off with desperation. So in Turtles, you can play a card if you don't have any cards in your hand to activate the character you want. So then you can play a card face down. In Turtles, you get 1 action, and then that's it. In Batman, you get 2 actions, and then you can discard as many cards as you like from your hand. So you can cycle your deck. perfect thing first, so that if you get in a situation where you don't have what you want, we're going to try and cycle to try and get where we need to be. Also, because in Batman there's no spawning. Well, there is some, but not. It's very, very uncommon. So in Turtles, the bad guys keep coming back. But in Batman, if all your gunners go down and you've got you've got 8 gunner cards in your hand, they're gonna choke up your deck like wounds and legendary or any deck builder. So you need to have a way to remove them. There's a card called You're Fired, which the art's really cool. It's got Penguin lowering some thugs into a shark tank, and you get to mill your deck with that. You can take 3 cards out of the game completely, and then by doing that, it'll strengthen your deck, but it will also get rid of the cards that you don't need anymore. There's some extra instant cards that you can play. So if you get attacked by a hero, you can play a dodge card if you've got it in your hand, which will let you do an extra defense roll. There is one of my favorite ones, it's a terrifying one as well. It's called Right Back at Ya. So it's the art is Batman and Two-Face, and they're punching each other simultaneously in the face. It's kind of funny. So in the adventure system, one way to play is like heroes like to just combine all their dice and they're going to roll a stupid amount of attack dice at somebody because they want to just get over that big hurdle of your defense. They might roll, 6, 7, 8, 9. You can roll up to 12 dice in some instances. And for a villain to defend against that, it's monstrous. In the co-op, it automatically blocks, so it's not so much an issue. But for a villain player to roll, it's pretty tough. Right Back at Ya, essentially, they get to roll the same amount of attack dice back at the hero that they rolled at them.
That's brutal.
I just saw your face go, oh!
Yeah.
So there's 2 of them in the deck, and so it's not so much there to cause a devastating blow to the heroes as it is a fear thing for the heroes to keep them as an additional under pressure. Do I really want to throw that many dice because he could have that card that is going to destroy me? And because
that's a good mechanic to have in any game where you have heroes versus bad guys, especially when it's somebody like Batman versus thugs kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you let Batman steamroll thugs, which he tends to do in a one-on-one fight, you're not going to have anybody invested in the game that way. But if they're always thinking, holy cow, what if this card's floating around in the background? If I stick my neck out here, Batman could get his butt handed to him.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's a good, sword of Damocles kind of thing, where it's like, if I do this, I might get chopped.
And that's what we found is missing in a post Batman world. What's missing from the Turtles game is like the villain plays really well in Turtles, but it didn't have that extra spice or that extra sauce on top to make it give you that extra flavor to take it to that next level, which is something that I would like to add in Mutanimals to really bring out the next, bring out more flavors out of the villain. Yeah, which is I think a good thing for the system. And we should, it will evolve, it'll get better, and there'll be new mechanics added. You can always play it the same way you did when you bought it out of the box, but if you expand it and you buy other games, you can add additional mechanics and you can grow with it as well. That's
now,
cool.
Pete, you've mentioned mutant animals.
Yes.
Can you confirm or deny that maybe you might be working on other projects with the adventures?
Yes. So that's one of the big teasers that I've been throwing around on the Kickstarter page, and on there we've got a Discord and we've got the Facebook group as well. There's lots of social media everywhere for adventures. But I call it Project Impact. That's my code name for it. So it's a game that's the next one that's following up after Batman. It's really, really exciting. It adds a whole bunch of new mechanics. The biggest theme that I've said to people is that it deals a lot to do with consequences. So there's for every action there's a reaction. while Batman is about pressure and Turtles is about being in a brawl, this one is about consequences. So whatever you do is going to have an effect, which is a totally different sort of take on the game. That one will also add vehicles to a point into the game, so it will. It will. I don't know what else. What else can I say?
Without saying too much.
Without just outright confirming that it's a Transformers Adventures game.
I was going to say that, but I didn't want to put Pete on the spot because I know that that's not a possibility.
Yeah, damn you, Hasbro. But like, there's a checklist that everybody's got of things that it is and it's not, and it's funny because you say, well, it's based on a property that's in the last 10 years. That's like one thing that they know that. They know that there's no live action version of it, so they know what vehicles are present in it. They know it deals with consequences, and the community is out there trying to work out exactly what it is. It's pretty funny.
It's Mask. It's totally Mask.
That's not in the last 10 years.
That's not in the last 10 years.
Maybe it's Medibots.
Yeah, there is a lot of things that I'd love to do though. Like, I think the adventure system is such a diverse and exciting platform to create games in. You could do almost anything with it, and like, you can go in totally different directions. I always think it would be really exciting to do a like a survival horror, like a Nightmare on Elm Street or a Friday the 13th, where you're, instead of heroes, you're survivors and you're running from the game or from Freddy or Jason that is coming to get you. I think that would be like hilarious and really interesting.
Dead by Daylight, the board game.
Pretty much. Or you could go and do, we could do some anime stuff. Like, you could do My Hero Academia would be a really, really cool one to do. We've already got Batman. Like, to go into Justice League stuff would be awesome. There is so much of the world to dive into. It would be.
That's the advantage when you have a system that's transportable. Like, you don't. It's not tied to a property where if you take it away from that property, it no longer works.
Yeah,
you can take the system and just overlay things on top of it.
100%. And so, and that's the big thing that I don't want to do is just be a reskin. It needs to have that. It has to be that theme has to be like burst through, and that's, if it doesn't have that theme, then it's, what's the point of doing it? Because you need to feel like you're in that universe, and I would feel like I wouldn't be doing the property justice unless it was, really, giving it. If you didn't feel like you were that character in that world, then it wouldn't work.
If it doesn't feel right, you're not gonna enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, with Batman, it was especially like at the start, I found it very difficult because Batman is such a solo character. He's always on his own, and then to have to rely on the other heroes so much, it was a very different way to. It's like, especially watching the episodes, trying to think of the ways to mitigate that and to try and work that into the game.
Even when he is involved with other people, he tends not to be really with them. It's in the Justice League things. It's like, hey, look, there's Superman, there's the Flash, there's Aquaman. They're over there. They're beating on the bad guys. Where's Batman? 3 pages later, he like sticks his head out of a vent in the ceiling and just gunks somebody.
Pretty much.
And that's Batman's contribution.
And so out of that feeling, we actually made I forgot to mention it before, a Dark Knight mode. So you can play Batman solo against the game, essentially. So cool. You are just Batman, and you can either play against a villain or you can play against the cooperative system, the AI, which is pretty cool. It's just another way to play.
That's probably going to do it for this episode. I'm going to say, if you're interested in the Batman the animated series adventures Kickstarter, go check it out, because it is just flying.
It's bizarre. It's like it's IDW's biggest Kickstarter to date, and I think what's really helped is people. I mean, it sucks that the the people from the UK and New Zealand haven't, and I think some parts of Asia still haven't got their games yet, their Turtle games, because of shipping delays. But people actually seeing the love and attention that went into Turtles is really, it's shaken things up with, and people didn't expect it to come out the way it did. And it's just so much love that's poured into it. The whole team has really pushed and tried to make it beyond what it was originally. You compare the old Shadows of the Past game to the new ones, and it's like night and day. Every inch of the game, like, we've spent hours and hours and hours like pouring into it.
I guess we're gonna call it a show. I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and I want to thank all of our casters, Rob Kalajian, Ben Higgins, Jason Hunt, and of course, Pete Walsh. Go check out the Kickstarter right now. This has been the Chaotic Good Cast. It was chaotic, but it was so good. We'll see you next week.